aqui no Brasil e uma tarde na África do Sul. Hoje a gente tem um evento aqui com pessoas de diferentes lugares. Olha só que beleza. Vamos falar aqui como que é trabalhar de fato com Employer Branding. Hello everyone, my name is Caio Infante. I'm one of the co-founders for Employer Branding Brazil, the largest community about employer branding in our country, with over 40,000 people, followers. We call them the EB lovers, where we have like podcasts, we have events like these, we have courses, we have articles. So whatever you think about employer branding, people in Brazil, they usually think about Employer Branding Brazil. So that's what we do. This is who we are. And have special guests today with us, this international event, trying to understand the difference and the similarities between the two countries, the two markets. I think from what we've done as a homework here, we're pretty much close. So I think this will be a great sessions with, as I said, different guests. And I'll actually call the very first one here. I'll bring to the show Celeste, all the way from South Africa. How are you? Good afternoon.
Hello, Caio. So nice to be on the show, and I'm very, very excited to be co-hosting with you today. We've been waiting for this event for a very, very long time, and finally it's here, right?
This is great. So tell us a little bit more about Employer Brand Africa, what you do, how long have you been there?
Thank you. So Employer Branding Africa has been going for 10 years now. It's basically been built on the backbone of a recruitment marketing agency, which was award-winning. We basically build employer brands and employer value propositions across Africa. We do a lot of training, also like Employer Branding Brazil, and very, very active within our African community. So that in effect is what we're doing, and I'm very happy to have my guest, one of the active projects we're working on, which is Cape Town Tourism.
Beautiful, beautiful. So we'll bring her in a minute. Thanks for the introduction. This will be a huge section and an international one. How beautiful is that, isn't it?
Wonderful.
So I'll bring now to the show Elisa, all the way from Florianopolis, here in Brazil. The beautiful Florianopolis, one of the most beautiful we have in the country. Welcome.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I'm also very happy to be here. My name is Elisa. I am from Brazil, and this is my first international forum, so I will try my best, okay? Nice to meet you all.
This is great. So how long have you been working with employer branding?
Well, I have worked with internal communications for 8 years, and now I have been leading the employer branding agenda at 99 for almost 2 years. Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you see, we're all getting started. So that's the goal for this event is how to get started and have a good discussion. So now I'll bring our last international guest here. Bryony, how are you? Welcome.
Hi, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the welcome. I'm all the way from South Africa. So just after 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And I'm with Cape Town Tourism. So I head up PR and comms on a global level for Cape Town Tourism. A little bit about our organization. We are the official marketing and destination management organization for the city of Cape Town. So we are a non-for-profit organization, and our key mandate is to market the destination internationally and also domestically amongst the rest of the provinces in South Africa.
This is great. Cape Town is the Rio de Janeiro for South Africa, correct?
There we go.
Yes, we like to think so. It's a very famous line of mine, but yeah, it's. I think that we've got the best brand to market. Cape Town is a destination and a brand on its own, and we've got a very strong brand affinity internationally and domestically. So quite an easy job. But as you obviously know, the tourism industry has taken a huge knock over the last 2 years.
Yep.
And we've faced a number of challenges along the way. But everything's looking great. You know, we've just dropped our regulation with regards to masks, and we're seeing a nice increase of visitors arriving in Cape Town, which is fantastic for us.
It's great. I've been there like several years ago, actually 95, 96, something like that. So I saw the Table Mountains, I saw the penguins. So it's a beautiful, indeed, I know that. So it's a beautiful place to be. So there you go.
We are more than the mountain and the penguin. So you need to come back to experience that.
Come back, Kaya.
It's more than important. So this is like great. Okay, to get started, Elisa, I'll start with you.
Okay.
Then I just go, like everybody will have the chance to discuss here. But you said that you started, as most of the market, like kind of recent. So how did you start building your employer brand? How long did it take to, do your EVP? That's something important. A little bit of your story and how you actually got started.
Great. So my company, that is 99App, is a Brazilian company which has in its core business the ride-hailing transportation, and we were bought by a Chinese company in 2018, that is Didi, the world's largest in-app transportation and convenience platform. And because of that, we became the first Brazilian unicorn. That's it, startups valued at more than $1 million. So a huge statement for us. And so we started to ask questions like, okay, now who are we? Are we a startup? Are we a multinational company? Because Didi operates in more than 15 countries, right? So how are we going to tell people about what we have to offer, what we truly have to offer? So at the end of 2020, I started to raise these questions, and I was learning more and more about employer branding, and then brought to my leader and my HR head at the time, like, hey guys, we need to start answering these questions. Look at our competitors. So are you with me to start this journey here? And they said yes. So we already had several initiatives that were employer branding. We just didn't know at the time that we could call them that way. And as we were revisiting the initiatives and also wanting to launch new ones, we decided to develop our EVP. So for us, this was very important to understand ourselves, to work with the right messages, so then put effort to promote our reputation as a great place to work for. So that was the start, yes.
Beautiful. Bryony, so tell a little bit of yourself. How did you get started? I mean, what first challenges, etc.
We started our employer branding project probably about 2 years ago. It was just before the pandemic hit, which was a very nice time in the tourism industry. We had just recovered from the drought that we had about probably a year or two before that. And we were seeing that people were coming back to Cape Town, and we were seeing an influx of guests. And we were at a very good stage. We started our employer branding project, and we then got hit with COVID. And then we needed to make lots of decisions because our focus in the tourism industry had changed. What we soon realized is that our employer branding project was a very important project for the organization. We had done fantastic work externally with all of our target audiences, and we still do amazing stuff in terms of what we do and how we market the destination to our external audiences. But what we soon realized is that we don't necessarily take the same approach internally. And we soon realized that it needed to be a focus of ours. We then started and we formed an employer branding project team. And we partnered with Celeste from Employer Branding Africa. And Celeste has been a phenomenal pillar in our project plan for the past 2 years. Celeste has really helped us drive our agenda and made us realize where our focuses needs to be. From a brand reputation perspective, I think that our organization always had a very strong brand. I think that our destination, as I said, has a very strong brand. And in terms of what we do from an innovative point of view to our external audiences is phenomenal. We launched a campaign probably about a couple of months ago, and it's a very innovative, creative campaign in the marketing space. And what we realized is that we now need to translate that into the internal audience, and we need to start looking at how we drive our internal agenda so that our employees can get excited about the brand of Cape Town Tourism, and we can start attracting the right talent. And Celeste has helped us do a lot of research in the last 2 years. We've done surveys, we've done focus groups to understand exactly how our team feel about our business. And then we built our EVP pillars around that. You spoke about challenges. We have faced a couple of challenges. We've needed to take our executive team and our leadership team on the journey with us. We've also needed to take the rest of the team and the rest of the people in our business on the journey with us to understand exactly where it is we want to land with our employer branding project, but also to get people excited. Cape Town Tourism is a very hip and happening and very cool brand. We do innovative things. We're trying to attract a millennial audience of travelers to Cape Town, and now we need to do the same with our internal brand. We need to now attract the young, innovative employees to our business so that we can carry on creating fantastic things for our external audiences.
Celeste, so I think I see you have a big role, right? With Brian. So what else? I mean, I know you've been working with Employer Branding Africa for a long time. So what can you tell us more about, this, how to get started and, these different initiatives and of course, here you have like a startup or a multinational.
Good question. Good question. Thank you, Kaya. I think the biggest challenge, and this is not unheard of for many organizations, is employer branding is almost like alien and it's not understood by many people. Everyone's got different definitions. They're doing pockets of excellence around their organization, but it's not labeled employer branding. So whether it be internal engagement or whether it be talent acquisition, those form different legs underneath employer branding. And I think you can vouch for this, Kaya. There's different elements to employer branding. So that's the one thing, is people feel the need for it. They don't necessarily call it employer branding. They might call it recruitment marketing, or they might call it employee engagement or whatever. So that's the first thing, is to actually make people understand what employer branding really is about, educate, inform. And then I think the biggest challenge, and this has not shifted and will always be there, is to actually get your decision makers on board, to be able to get the influencers right at the very top to buy in. Otherwise, you're going to be swimming upstream all the way. You need to also get partners in marketing or learning and development, and people that can actually align with you and form part of your group to actually push that agenda. And then the other thing is budget. Budget's a big thing. And I think we can also all vouch for the fact that, you have to work long and hard, because you're always looked at as a cost center in HR. And why do you actually need the budget? So, and I mean, that's a whole conversation on its own. So those are the two biggest things when it comes to actually starting out there. Thanks, Kaya.
Great points. And Elisa mentioned something here, right? So we're doing some stuff that we didn't know it was employer brand, or actually maybe was not well structured, because at the end of the day, in employer branding or a proper employer brand, you build your EVP, you have your pillars, you have your brand promises, and you have your personas, blah, 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 and the story goes on. But I think like on a market perspective, both South Africa, Brazil, Latin America, and maybe around the world in different regions, I think we always struggle to get started, right? So we just need to, day one, like day zero, day one, day two, where we need to face like cultural resistance, leadership. We need to convince them. We don't have money, but we need to do something, right? So probably I'll start with Brian now. So what kind of tips or what can you say about, so what's the first 1-2 steps without money, and then people understand the value of employer brand. So now then have money. What you're going to do with the money? Because I think that's the second or third step, right? So tell about this journey without and with money.
Yeah. So I think that you're absolutely right. I think it's, taking everybody in your business on the journey with you, from your leadership team up until your team members and the rest of the people within your business. I think that there will always be a certain group of people within your business that will completely understand exactly where you're coming from. And then there are people in the business that completely don't get where you're coming from.
I haven't found these people, okay, the very first day that understand and are there for you. It takes forever to get these people on board as well, but I agree, eventually they come.
Yeah. And I think that what we did is that we looked at all of our certain touch points with regards to our employees, and we looked at the low-hanging fruit. So we looked at the things that would be easy for us to convert, the platforms we already had, the communications platforms we already had, and we looked at all of the low-hanging fruit and how easy it would be for us to convert and for us to re-establish where we wanted to be. Then what we did was that we then did a lot of research with our internal teams. We spent a lot of time. I think we actually did something really cool, is that we started an employer branding squad, because we realized that it can't always be from the top down. We developed a group of individuals, and they were doing call outs to their colleagues. Come on board, help us build this brand of Cape Town Tourism. Help us take this brand to another level. Help us, share your voice, share your opinions, share the opinions of your colleagues. And we developed a really cool, and we call them the EB Squad. And they actually started doing call outs to their colleagues to get on board. We did a fantastic, very innovative little video where we introduced each of these staff members to the rest of the business. And we said, these people are your voice. If there's anything you'd like to share or any opinions you have, go to these guys, they will bring it forward. What we then did is that we did a survey with everybody in the business, and obviously a couple of prizes and goodies up for grabs to entice people to complete the survey. And then we did quite a big focus group where we got these guys into a room, and we spent the better part of a full day with them, trying to unpack the way that they were feeling about the business. We brought in our values, which were very established within the business. Everybody knew our values, but how do we drive that message forward? So we brought through our values, and we unpacked each of those values and tried to understand how our team members were feeling about each of those values. And that's how we then built our EVP pillars. We still do have a long way to go. I think we presented to our leadership team last week, and we officially got a tick. They were very happy and very excited about our EVP pillars, but we do have a long road ahead of us. We've got to now unpack how we're going to roll this out, which elements we are going to use, and how we're going to innovatively, consistently communicate this to not only our team members, but the employees outside of the organization that we are wanting to attract. So we do have a long road ahead of us, and we do need budget for the rest of it. There's only so much you can do with no money. But I think once you have done your research and once you've established exactly where you want to take the brand, I think it's easy to get your leadership team on board, to convince them that this is actually what we want to do. And what we've done is that we've aligned it with our marketing campaign. So we've launched a fantastic marketing campaign internationally, and we've aligned what we want to do internally with our marketing campaign, so that messages are consistent, look and feel is consistent, the way we communicate is consistent, and looking at an innovative approach there.
Elisa, do you agree with this?
Of course, Brian is the best. Well, fortunately, I didn't have this problem. I had our executives on our side, and I had the budget to do our EVP with a vendor. And for me, this was crucial in the whole process. My day one, the whole thing started when I seriously, guys, I wrote down in an Excel spreadsheet everything that I needed to do to have our attributes, our values. So besides playing my role as internal communications manager, I was also going to do the project by myself. So when I finished, write it down, I said, okay, no, impossible. Alone is impossible. And of course, as we were just starting to push this agenda in the company, we wanted to start with the right food. So we wanted to have the credibility that this project needed. So we chose to do it with a vendor. And for me, it became very clear two things. One, as people are going to tell good and bad things about your company, they feel more comfortable to do it with a person that is impartial in the process. And second, I believe that the vendor can put the pillars and the attributes in a more sexy language, in a way the storytelling and the copywriting is more inspirational and more touching. So for me, if you have the budget, do it with a vendor. That's my recommendation. But of course, it's not impossible to do it yourself.
Beautiful. Celeste, you and I are the guys that want this money, right? You're in this position.
Yeah, would be good.
And we can help. But so tell me, I mean, your impressions, and not only with Brian, but any other clients that you've done. I mean, what your first recommendations for when you start working a client? So, what do you recommend them?
I think Bryony, she hit on a very good point, and that's really just to try and demonstrate quick rewards, quick low-hanging fruit. Because if people aren't going to see the quick return and they see this long road ahead, all of a sudden they want to run away. They want to run up Table Mountain very quickly and say, no, thank you. This is not for me at all. So I think you need to actually show little bites at a time. You need to show the little phases and the little segments. And I think you need to also, I know that you have to celebrate the milestones and the different chapters that you reach, because then it doesn't feel painful. And I think the biggest problem with employer branding is that people just generally see it as a mammoth task, Kayo. They see it as this big thing that is going to take 25 years and you're never going to get around to finishing it. But as I say, if you can show the little bits of rewards and the milestones along the way, you will get buy-in and you will get smiles on everyone's faces. And then I also see, I think it's Leneka, I think that's how you pronounce her name. You also need to, she confirms, yes, you have to bring employees into the picture, because they need to, as Bryony said, they have to walk the journey with you. You can't be doing it on your own. You have to actually have your group of EB squads and leadership. Otherwise, it's going to be a mammoth task. So that's, that's what my suggestion really would be.
Beautiful. Yeah, one of the things that I usually tell clients when we first get started is, once you've done this tough path, convince leadership, getting the money, so then we need to review all the touch points, both internal and external, right? So external, when you go to, I mean, candidates are all over there, and the candidate journey, as I said, I mean, they can be on a social media, they can be on an event, on a podcast, they can be just walking on the street. It really depends. So getting to understand your audience or audiences in the plural, but I always say let's start with one or two, just to get started. And as I said, like the quick wins, so we can actually show value in relatively short time for this specific target audience, because there's a lot of things to do. And every now and then I said, I want to do like an Instagram career page. But I said, okay, but how about your job description? Is it good enough yet? How about your career site? Does the experience look good? And so on. Because when you start seeing like more mature companies with more mature employees, I want to do this, I want to do that. And let's go back to the basics. Because of course, I mean, we can do like alumni program, we can do ambassador program. I said, these are all great, but first things comes first, right? I think there's these expectations, and people, and I tell them, look, it's an employer brand journey. I mean, we're just getting started, and the money will go like this, and time will fly, and you won't see results because we're going to start, like, let's do one thing here, one thing there, one thing here, one thing there, and do a lot of stuff that eventually they won't connect. And the other thing that people forget is that you need to create content, and different contents for different audience in different channels. So it's not only about just launching different channels. So that's something that I said, okay, slow down. Let's review what you have to make sure that your pillars are there, that our brand promises are there, blah, blah, blah. Your key visual, right? Your creative concept is well promoted there. And then we go to the next step. I think that's something that, because when you have money, okay, now I have the experts. Let's do all that. I said, slow down. That's the roadmap. And I don't say that because I want to be with the client for 2, 3, 5 years. Although, in the end of the day, if I do a good work or the best work ever, I will. But I just want to let them know that there's this journey they want to go through. So,
and I think, yeah. Sorry, Kai, I think you touched on a very important point there. I think, a lot of people don't actually stock take the assets that they've got within the organization. All they need to do is fine tune that, and already they've got wins. They've already got low hanging fruit and quick wins. And it is about that experience journey. Get the basics right before you start thinking about all these great things, alumni programs and the ambassador programs and everything. Those touch points are so important. And I think that's often overlooked. That's the one thing you mentioned. The second thing is there's a frustration at the moment that I'm feeling around recruiters and talent acquisition specialists that they don't see the tools. They're trying to do the hiring. So give me the tools that can make me see employer branding at work. And that's what's missing at the moment. It's too much, it's too big, and it's too far, and it's too strategic, and it's not in close touch to what they are wanting to do with those assets right now. So I think if you can demonstrate that to your talent acquisition teams, I think you're going to win them over very quickly, and you'll be taking them along the journey with you as well.
Yeah, that's perfect. So again, don't rush. Want to say something, Elisa? Do you want to add any point here?
No, I would say, slow down. Otherwise you will panic. It's a lot of work. It's a whole universe to explore. So yes, do the basics right, and then step by step. That you need patience.
Absolutely, completely agree with you. And I think that's something that we really benefited from having a partner on board with us. Early on, when we started this project, we thought we could do it on our own, and we thought we could get to all the exciting things very quickly. But you soon realize that there's a lot of hard work that needs to go into it before you can even start with all of the exciting things. There's a lot of research and a lot of time that needs to be spent unpacking everything in detail before you can get to the cool, exciting things. Often we are impatient and we want to get to the cool stuff very quickly. And I think that's what we've learned that you really need to be patient and that it is a long process. There are lots of elements that need to align, and it takes some time to get there. But yeah, we are excited about where we are at the moment, which is good for us.
Yeah, actually, it takes a lot of time, right? It takes some time to get started. It's forever. Like, the employer brands out there, like the big companies, the big tech companies, the blue chip tech companies in the US, they've been doing this for like 5, 10, 12, 15 years. So and that's something that the market needs to understand. It's not just launching. Okay, let's launch. No, launching is day one. Then have forever and ever. Your employer brand will be there. You have employees. You have your candidates, right? You have your reputation out there. So people need to understand and have this long-term view. Not only the short terms. Quick wins are good. We need to do that. We all agree we need to do those. But we need to also see the big picture, right? And how long and beautiful is this journey. So, Elisa, back to you now here. So you had no money. Now you have some money. You've learned a lot through this journey. What advice would you give to Elisa 2-3 years ago? So what have you learned? Everything you do eventually differently. I know if you had money, okay, Elisa, go after the money earlier. I think that's one of.
Yes. Well, I've learned that you need a lot of hands-on patience, as we already talked now, and great communication to influence your stakeholders all the time. Not only because a lot of our job is to act like a consultant and enter in processes and projects that are not led by us, but we need to be there to guarantee that the storytelling is right, the key visual is right, and also the reasons of why we are launching these initiatives needs to be very clear and very connected to our employer branding strategy. And of course, I would have done some things differently. For example, we waited to have the messages and the EVP's copywriting finished to start to develop the EB key visual, and this made us wait 1-2 more months. So then we were able to launch it to the whole company. So if I could go back, I would do both processes at the same time, like start to develop the messages, and then in the middle of this journey, start to develop the key visuals. And I also would do our launch in a different way. We made a very great moment with an online gamification, but to have more people participating, more people engaging, it would be nice to have, for example, some gifts. So who joined us in the game would receive these gifts, and probably these employees would post on their LinkedIn, and this would bring us more awareness, and also have some employees, ambassadors to help us spread our messages. This is some advice for the Lisa in the past.
Great. Bryony, and you, what lessons and advice would you give to Bryony a couple of years ago?
I think that the point we spoke about before this about being patient is something that I would have told my previous or told myself 2 years ago. I think, like I said, we soon realized that this is not going to be a 1 month or 2 month project. I think what's important to understand and to get everybody on the same page as you, and for them to understand, is that there's no beginning and end date with something like this. There might be a start date or a launch date, but it's consistent messaging. branding that needs to carry on, throughout what you guys do as a business. I think that's probably one of the most important things that we've learned, is that it's not a project where there's a beginning and an end date, and once you've done it, it's done, and you've ticked the box and you move on. I think what we've also realized is that and I think maybe because of where we are as Cape Town Tourism, is that there's no blanket approach. We wanted to do something that was innovative. We wanted to do something that matches the way that we speak to our external audiences and what we do with our external audiences. And we realized that we needed to align with what the marketing team have done and what we've done from a marketing perspective in our business. I think that something we soon realized is that we also need to move with the times. There are different ways of communicating. There are different channels of communicating. The social media channels, the digital perspective is high up on people's radars. People are engaging on TikTok and all these different apps, and that's the way you need to evolve what you do from an employer branding perspective. Because if you want to attract the right audience, you need to speak to them in their language and on the channels where they are frequenting. And I think that's something that we also soon realized. Other than that, I think we're at a very sweet spot in our journey, and we still have a long way to go. But we are very excited about what's going to happen in the next couple of months. So that's where we are.
Anything here, Celeste, to add from your experience?
Yes, I'm just making a few notes here. I think for every company at the moment, we're trying to read the needs and how they have shifted globally, especially with, we've got a global inflation. We've got I don't want to get all morbid and everything, but we've got real things happening in our country with the power outages, the petrol price hikes, the economy and that. So I think what one has to do while you're building your employer brand, I think you need to really be understanding while you're running this process how your employees are feeling, and not saying, well, let's just put you on the back burner while we carry on building our employer brand. You have to keep your ear very close to the ground all the time. You have to be nurturing and looking after your employees as they go through all these challenges, these political and economic challenges along the way. It's real stuff, and you have to be addressing it, and it needs to be integrated into your whole value proposition and how you are nurturing your talents and what you are offering your talent externally. That's the first thing. The second thing is our population of the people that we are employing has changed as well. To Bryony's point, if you're going to look for your Gen Zs and your millennials, you have to be speaking the language, you have to be using the content, and you have to be using the tools that is connecting with these people. Otherwise, you're not going to find the talent you're looking for. So that's also very important. Whether you choose to go with gig, remote, freelancers as well, in order to find the talent that is so sought after, because you can't find permanent people, is another thing you need to do. And then I know that this is a great statement of Kayo's. A little bird told me that employer branding has not got a start and a finish. It's not a project. It's I call it a living organism. It is a living organism that needs to be fed and nurtured and needs to be looked after continuously. It's not going to go away, and it's going to be changing continuously. You can't put it on the shelf and let it live its life. You have to be listening to it and addressing it all the time. So that's the other thing as well. And then just one or two projects that I've been working on, it's all very well putting an EVP and an employer brand together, but once it's done, the most important part, and where many companies fall flat, this is research, it's insights, but it's also personal experience, is that it cannot sit on the bookshelf. It has to be integrated. Otherwise, it fails. It fails you. Your employer branding strategy will fail you badly if you do not integrate it within your processes and systems, and if you do not actually bring it to life and actually do something with it. Live the brand, live the values, and make sure that you harness all that hard work that you've done over the years. Don't let it just not happen. It needs, you'd want to see it all in motion. So those are the points that I have to say, Kaya.
Correct. At the end of the day, people are the brand itself, right? So that's why we need to take care of our employees, what market said, what candidates see. So leadership, everybody's important, when not because we all love employer brand, but it is important, and it's an issue that evolves the whole organization. So that's one of the things. And just to add here to Elisa and Brian's point as well. So you need to be curious and you need to be hands-on. And I think that's something, again, I always say that employer brand, or it's usually connected to HR, with HR needs. So you can be the last person or the large department to know where the business is heading to, like what the business strategy is, how many people will be needed to deliver such result or such business objective. So if you're going to open new stores, or if you're going to grow your technology and you're going to sell to 2-3 big clients, and then you need more people, so you need to foresee. And for you to foresee and do all the employer brand journey to connect to the correct audience, as you're saying, Celeste, as you give an example for millennials. So you need to be there with the business. And yes, you need to be that person or that area that you need to talk to marketing, to sales, to financial, to technology, and all that. So that's part of the challenge. I think that's something that, and Lisa brought this, right? Again, curious and hands-on in terms of understanding the business. In the end of the day, Brad Michelton says employer branding is not a marketing, it's not an HR, it's not a communication area. It's an area of itself, right? So it's an own area. It's part of the business. So this is important for us to understand and to live, right? I know it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy, but that's something that we need to connect. And again, bring data. The more data, and data, people think it's percentage. They think about numbers. No, again, eventually just data is, okay, how many candidates you need to fill a position? How much time does it take to fill a position? And you'd be surprised, I don't know, they're in South Africa, but here in Brazil, most companies, they have no idea. They don't have this kind of basic numbers. And that's how you build your plan. How many people do I need to reach or to impact? How many people will be in the process? How many people will I interview? And then how many people, at the end of the day, I will hire? So this is kind of basic information. And again, if you're sitting back there, people won't tell you. You need to go after the people. And eventually you don't have like an app or like a system where the information is there. So you need to bring and create the connection. And that's part of your data. Like when people leave, why they left? Where did they go to? What having to deliver as a brand promise? That's how you keep, as you said, Celeste, one, it's not a product, and two, it's a living organism. So your employer brand is there, your people are there. So that's just to add up to your points here as well.
And I think just on the data side as well, Kaya, I think we overlook how much value our employees. If you listen to your employees and you listen to your candidates, therein lies your data. How difficult is that? How difficult is it? That data is sitting there for the taking. And the fact of the matter is your talent acquisition and your recruiters and your source, the people that are sourcing in that, they're right at the forefront. They're right at the trenches. They can give you that data. It doesn't have to be a computer. It doesn't have to be a computer. It has to be the people that is just asking the right questions. And you've got that wealth of information that is endless. It's endless.
Beautiful. Well said. That's it. Again, that's the data, because people are not an engineer, neither am I.
Yes.
But you need to have the right information, data, to make the best decisions. That's how we do, or that's how we're supposed to do it.
Correct.
Anyway, people from Mozambique, people from all over. So, hey everyone, and welcome again. Thanks for being here with us. Wow, time flies. Come on, I have at least one final question. And people in the audience, if you have questions, please send them. We try to make them if we have available time here. So, okay, we've talked a little bit about the past, then a little bit about the present, and going back and forth, tips to the past. So for the future, start with you, Brian. What do you see for the future? So challenges, how we're going to evolve our employer brand, or different actions you want to take. So tell us a little bit more about your future.
As I mentioned before, we launched a very innovative campaign. I think it was 2-3 months ago, March actually. And what we're now doing is that we're going to align with that. So we're going to use an innovative and a digital approach to roll out our EVP to the rest of the business and externally. And I think that's what's next for us. I think it's trying to find a nice, innovative and digital approach that the younger market will resonate with. Because that's the audience that we want to start talking to, and that's the audience that we need to start engaging with. So like I mentioned before, using social media channels, not only looking at the old school traditional ways, but also looking at an innovative approach so that we can start engaging with the right audiences. So that's next for us, and that's, I think, the most exciting part for us. We've now done all the hard work. We've now done all the groundwork. We've done all the research that we've needed to. But now how do we bring that to life? And how do we bring that to life in an exciting way that people will resonate with and that the rest of the team will be excited about? There's no point in only us being excited about it. I think it's something that the rest of the business needs to be excited about. And that's a very big objective for us.
Elisa, what's the future for 999?
This is a great one, right? For me, the next step is to gain maturity in our understanding of employer branding and also in our numbers, in our data, using better metrics. And my ideal world is that I won't be the EVP or EB guardian anymore, because every employee in the company will understand and will be aware of its meaning to connect in everything we do. So that's what we are working for.
We'll get there. Celeste, how do you see the future for employer brand? So what do you see in terms of market or challenges, or how actually you support your clients, not only branding but other clients?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think everyone would like that special compass to know what's going on. I think, living in a world of uncertainty at the moment, you can have any curveballs thrown at you, but as our teachers and all our legends have taught us, Kayo, it always starts from within, and listening to your employees, and they are basically assisting you with finding that North Star and guiding you. So in answer to your question, you have to keep your ear to the ground. You cannot evolve and you cannot be relevant if you are not keeping your ear to the ground and listening to your people that are on the forefront, but your people that are also internally situated. I think it's also very important to keep close to your leadership team and your hiring managers as well, because they are also like gold. They've got their own network of people. They're their own specialists in their own regard. So whether they're in specialized IT roles or whether they're in sales or marketing or whatever, they hold a wealth of information. So if I look to the future, for my clients, it's really about maintenance. It's not a once-off, a one-hit approach. It has to be consistent. It has to be regular. It has to be relevant, the information. You also need to know that you have to move with the times as well. You can't think today it's like a new pair of Nike shoes. As we're talking and you think you got the best Nike shoes on your feet, in the factory they produce in the next one. That next one's out already. So how do you continue to remain relevant and agile in order to stay on top of your game in retaining your talent, but also attracting your millennials and all your other people that you're looking at attracting.
Correct. And the great resignation is out there, right? All over the place.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That makes our job a little bit more challenging.
Exactly.
Just right here, the thing that we see at Radius, at the agency globally, is bringing again more data and more technology, right? I think that's something that we all still need to see. Again, we're part of the business. We're not HR yet. We are very close to HR. We're not communications nor marketing yet. We are close and we understand the languages and all that. So one thing that people they come there and they see that as well is the branded content and or customizing all this experience, right? Because one thing that I know, we're still talking about markets that are still getting started with our brand. We're running a little bit behind, which is fine. That's why we're here for, after all. But what we see, at least here in Brazil, for instance, when you go to like a career site, the content is like it's the kind of, I call it one size fits all, right? So I have content, it's about the company and that's it. Okay, which is part of the brand awareness, it's part about your story. But if I'm a tech person, I want to be treated and I want to see content related to the tech world. If I'm a marketing person or if I'm a salesperson, if I'm a financial person, so we need to brand this content, we need to brand this experience, because everything we do in our life is branded, right? Or it's customized. If you go to Amazon, you buy this, and someone who bought this also bought blah, blah, blah. And through your behavior, everything you see, of course, they want to sell more to you, but it's customized. If you go to Netflix, watch this series or this movie, and this is a recommendation according to your behavior and so on. But the candidates, so far, most of the clients and most of the world, they still are treated as just one candidate. Why can't we produce specific and branded content? Again, beyond specific media, specific channels, specific events, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's part of the future all over. We got there eventually, but again, we need to have the data. We need to be connected to the business. Again, I'm going to do that for students. We'll do that for diversity, target tech people, whatever it is. I need to understand the business goals, the kind of people we need to hire and retain in order to produce all this specific content. And just to be kind of more simple here, the way I'm going to put this, what I always tell people is that the stories are already there in the company. So I think how to get started, forget about data, forget about technology, forget about branded content and all that, but do some homework, internal homework. What are the stories that are within your organizations that people in your organization don't know, therefore people out there don't know either. So there's opportunity to promote several stories, like like about diversity, about initiatives startup related. We invest in 5 startups. Oh, do we? I didn't know that. Yes, we do. Right. So you need to tell this sometimes this internal and then external. Oh, we invest in our people, have this mentorship for women in technology. Oh, we do have that. Yeah, we do. So you need to tell this to the market. So there's so many opportunities out there. So again, there's the fancy and the more advanced employer brand, which we want to be back here in 2-3 years time, and hopefully we have this big stories to discuss and to share. But now, today, to get started without money is give voice, to your stories. Organize. It's not just throwing out the stories. So if you can have an EVP, of course, that helps, that guides everything you need to do and to discuss. But again, the stories, make sure you listen to your people, and you're rather on to be sure that in every meeting, every discussion, there's a new story to be told. So that's something, my last tip for you guys, how to get started.
Yes.
So as we're approaching nearly 1 hour here, see, time flies.
Wow.
Yeah, I told you it would be fast. It seems forever, but it is fast in the end of the day. So I'll start with you, Celeste. So final, recommendation, comments.
Yeah, I think it's about, as you say, I think more than anything, if we have a look at the African territory, there's a lot of startups and fintechs and high growth companies that basically are looking, they're looking to establish themselves. They are, they've been funded in that, and we've got the highest unemployment rate in the world. So we've got people at the moment that are really struggling to set up businesses here in Africa. But we're resilient. We're a very, very resilient nation. And I think just in line with that, when it comes to setting up your company, as you said, Kayo, the stories reside within the organization already, especially when it comes to your co-founders and the people that have actually built it from scratch. They've got the stories and they are the leaders, they're the mentors, and they can make so much noise about what they stand for and their unique proposition, etc. So you don't have to have a massive budget. I think it's about being aware of how you take it to market and be grateful for what you do have in terms of content. There's so much value that resides within. Don't overlook it. Don't be so busy after the money when in fact it's sitting right there within your organization. You've got assets there already. Make it work for you. So that's what I would like to say.
Beautiful. Thank you. Elisa, last words. You can say hi to your mom, whatever. So.
Yes. Well, I just want to thank you guys very much for this opportunity. I've learned a lot today. Thank you very much, Celeste, Brian, Kayo. And I hope that we can see more and more colleagues in having success in the employer branding area. So count on me for this. And yeah, see you next time.
Thanks, Elisa. Brian.
I think from my point of view, and I think that's something that I'd like to share, is that I think when you start a project like this, and when you realize as a business that this is the way that you want to go, and this is something that you really want to invest in, is to bring a strong partner on board, somebody that you really trust, and somebody that can take you on the journey with them. We've learned so much from Celeste, and she really has kept us honest in our approach. When you veer off the path and you want to focus elsewhere on things that are a little bit more exciting at that point, Celeste just brought us back to basics and just helped us and kept us honest in this whole project and this whole approach. So I think from my perspective, I'd say that bring a strong partner on board, because it does wonders for the output, and it does wonders for where you can go as a business.
I didn't pay her, Kayo. to say that. I didn't pay her to say that.
Just to be clear.
Thanks anyway. Okay, guys, that's been like an amazing journey here today with you guys. It's morning in Brazil, it's afternoon in South Africa. Maybe someone will be watching this overnight. People are running and listening to us, because this will be on and recorded in our channel. So again, Celeste, Brian, thanks again for being here. Elisa, pleasure to have you again here on Employer Branding Brazil. We had like this, a lot of people in the audience here, they haven't had the chance to make a lot of questions, but they'll say, hey, thank you so much. Thanks for the inputs, thanks, sites. So thanks, guys, that have been here with us. And again, hopefully to be together again. So I think this was a great session. Celeste, thanks for organizing this. Brian, again, glad to meet you here. And Elisa,
thank you.
We'll catch up soon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Opportunity. It's great. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.